South Florida, representing you. And we are very happy to partner with you today. This is a topic that's near and dear to our heart, which is condo financing, and I will be happy to go through that and show you why. But this is the only group I know that can have this many people turn out at 10 a.m. for a party. The bar will be opening shortly, and you're probably going to need it to get through these numbers, because the first thing that we want to talk about is kind of a snapshot of South Florida market. And I was not planning on doing dual screens, so I apologize to go back and forth. The one thing I want to tell you is if you look at the top corner over here, southfloridamarketintel.com, this is our website for the Miami Association of Realtors where we produce all of this data each month. If you want to go there, you can pull down the reports and it gives you a snapshot for the counties that we represent in South Florida. So one of the things that we wanted me to address is the median sales price. And so you'll see in condominiums, which is what I'm going to cover first because that is why we're here. So the median home sales price for a condominium is $225 for this month. What we do is month over month, so you look at May of this year compared to May of last year. Because people travel, you've got to account for tourism and schools and stuff like that. So, step on the side. If you look at the month over month, you'll see the difference there. There's something really important about this slide, and it's the closed sales. I want you to take a look at that. I got a text message earlier this month for Linda Fernandez, who works with us. Linda Fernandez is our Senior VP of Public Policy International, and she's the one that puts all this market data together and publishes these reports for us. She couldn't be here with us today because her birthday is tomorrow, and she's out celebrating. Good for her. But she did send me a text message earlier this month and say, what is going on with condo sales? I said, what are you talking about? She said, for the first time, we see an increase, and that's what we're looking at here, of 5.7%. What is happening? So just to give a snapshot for you of last year, 2016, the year as a whole, we had 14.4% less condos sold than the previous year in 2015. For this year, for April, we had 12.5% less sold than April of last year. The only month that we saw a minimum increase in that was March, and it was 2.3%. So to see a jump like this is the first jump that we've seen in condo sales, and to be honest with you, a number of years. So much so that she felt the need to send a text message to say, did some housing policy change? A couple other things that she wanted me to point out, which are, we get asked a lot about how many cash sales are in your market. This is down across the board. If you're in the industry, you know this. Not as many people are bringing cash to our market as they were before, which means what? Financing is even more important. The other thing I want to talk to you about is here at the bottom, and that's the amount of inventory that you have. And what she wanted me to tell you is that 6 to 9 months of inventory is considered balanced. That's considered a healthy real estate market. Less than 6 months favor sellers, more than 9 months favor buyers. So in this case, we have 13.8% of inventory on the market. Who would that favor? Buyers. So buyers should be able to pick and choose whatever condo they want, correct? What's happening out there?
Financing is the problem.
Financing. Can't pick and choose what condo you want unless you're coming in with all cash. So that's why we're here today. That's why we want to talk to you about condo financing. This is a good snapshot of the condo market, and then we want to cross-reference that with the single-family homes, which you'll see the single-family home in Miami-Dade County is 325. We had a 10.7% increase year over year. And because we are representing all of South Florida, I'll go into Broward real quick. So if you see in Broward for the condo sales, it's 159,000, which had 11.6% increase. And then for single-family homes, it's 335 with an 8.1% increase. But look at the inventory that we have in Broward County. 4-month inventory. It is very competitive in the seller's market if you're trying to buy a single-family home in Broward County. And just to go back real quick and show you condos, 6-month inventory, single-family homes in Miami-Dade County, 5.6. Does that put it in perspective how much condo inventory we have in Miami-Dade County and why condo financing is so important? I'm going to talk to you about our workforce and trying to get them into housing. So we are very lucky in Miami-Dade County that we had a little bump in April of this year. April 14th was the new effective date for area median income. HUD publishes the area median incomes of the counties across the country. And Miami-Dade County had a slight bump this year from 48,100 last year to 51,769. They usually round up, 51,800. Broward County, their area median income is 64,100. So what's the moral of the story? Move to Broward and come Just kidding. So the important thing is that housing experts don't want you to use more than 31% of your income for housing purposes. That's what they consider very healthy. Now, I know you're going to hear a lot about DTI, debt to income ratio. When you're factoring that in, debt, student loan, car, that's what they call the back end DTI. This is the front end DTI. So this is just your housing costs. They like that to be around 31%. For our area median income in Miami-Dade County, that would be just over 1,300. So what I really want to talk to you about is existing inventory for our workforce.
Pretty much.
Workforce is considered 80 to, are you guys familiar with how you define what workforce is? Okay, so the definition is traditionally 80 to 120% of AMI. So you can go to any county, because HUD puts out these area median incomes, you can determine in any county what the workforce would be. So 80 to 120%, which is what you see here. In Miami-Dade County, we go up to 140%. Because we have a program known as surtax, which is where they pay 45 cents per $100 on commercial transactions that goes into a fund to help affordable housing in Miami-Dade County. Because of the state statute, it allows it to go up to 140%, but all the other 66 counties in Florida are capped at 120 for their definition of workforce. Okay, so someone making 80%, this would be adjusted for a family of 4. So based on that AMI tables, this is pretty much how much they would make. Your gross monthly income would be here. Your front end DTI for housing costs would be about this. This is more or less the mortgage that you would be able to afford, which is $190,000. I just want to be fair. So over here, $190,000. Look at the market inventory that we have for single family homes versus condominiums at that price point. 11 times the amount of condos we have available versus single family homes. Look at the same for 120%. This is pretty much what you can afford, 310 with your PITIA, your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and association dues, which are like
Going crazy.
very important in South Florida. The rest of the country may not use that A on the end, but it is almost mandatory in our market to add the housing cost for that A there. So PITIA, what can you afford? About $310,000. With that, you get a single-family home inventory of 846 and a condo inventory and townhouse of over 5,000. Same thing for 140% of AMI. You can afford just about 350. Look at 5 times the amount of condo inventory that we have versus single-family homes. This is why condo financing is so important for our market. Lisa Mendez is here with us. Lisa came to me a couple of years ago. Oh, let me do one more slide before I tell that story. So you'll see 60% of AMI making roughly $43,000. Even at $145,000, we still have inventory in the condo market for 60% of AMI. What is unique about this is that I've called the National Association of Realtors. By the way, inventory shortage across the country is a problem. What is unique about our market is that the shortage is on single-family homes, not on condominiums. Charlie Nelson is his name with NAR. He goes, let me get this straight. So you're telling me you have inventory, but you can't move it from the condos. I said, that is correct. Okay, so let's talk about some of those reasons. Lisa called me 2014 when she was president, and she said, I have an FHA approved buyer. Would like to put her in a condominium in Hialeah. No problem, right? So she says there are no FHA approved condos in all of Hialeah. Sometimes I may get phone calls from realtors that are a little bit exaggerated, and I don't want to insult our president, but I said that can't be possible. So I went to FHA Condo Lookup, which is where you can look at all the approved condos for FHA, and sure enough, condos approved in all of western Miami-Dade County, with the exception of one in Kendall. We have a significant shortage of FHA condos. Why? That was the reason why we put this condo task force together. What in the world is happening in our market that we have such a shortage? Now, FHA changed their policies at the downturn of the market. They discovered that South Florida and maybe some other places in the country were considered high risk, and they wanted to protect their investment. Are you guys familiar with spot loans? Like used to be spot loans? So before 2010, you used to be able, and I think it's on your chart, if you look in there, there's a category of spot loans in there. You used to be able to approve, I believe it was up to 4 in a condo building without having to get the entire building approved. That was very helpful for our market, except we're smart people here in South Florida, and we like to figure out how to get around these rules. And what HUD figured out is that some people in South Florida figured out a way to make the entire building spot loan approved. Every single unit went through a spot loan process, and obviously that was more than the cap. So they did away with the spot loan approval process until they could actually make adjustments for our market, and then we were told they will come back to it later, which is what they're still currently discussing at FHA. Secretary Ben Carson was here a couple months ago. We met with him. This is one of the things that we brought up from Miami Realtors. This is probably the biggest way that you could help our market. I think that HUD has a better grasp on how much inventory is out there, how many buildings are out there, what they've approved. They actually do a better job of publishing this, so I know for a fact that they're doing a better job of tracking it. And so we feel like we have enough comfort with the department to be able to bring this process back. And he has mentioned, at least publicly, to reporters that they are interested in doing that. So the reason why we focused on FHA for this condo task force is because we were really looking at what are the loan products out there where you could come in with less than 25%. And at that time, in 2014, FHA was dead. It was the only game in town. Fannie didn't have it, Freddie didn't have it, there were no portfolio loans on condominiums. This was really the only game in town, so what our task force kind of decided is, how do we get more condos FHA approved? And if you look at the example here, for a $200,000 loan, you would need to come up with $7,000, so this is a very attractive loan program. This is an example of Fannie and Freddie, and now you kind of see a market where they've brought back the 3 to 10% down for their full review process, but again, in 2014, we didn't have that option. This is the interesting part. So limited or streamlined review. Limited is what Fannie calls it, Freddie Mac calls it streamlined review. Basically, there's they look at limited things, and they treat the budget a little bit differently, which is more favorable for us. But in 49 states, you can come in with 20% down for Fannie, 10% down for Freddie, but in Florida, you got to come up with 25%. So take that same $200,000 unit, you've got to come up with $50,000 down as a first-time buyer. This is what's hurting us the most. And Naja, if you'll raise your hand. I want to tell you, this woman has been our champion in Washington, D.C. on working on this issue to see if we could come up with maybe some pilot programs to bring down this number from 25%, because that is just very, very difficult to come up with that funding. One of the things that our task force looked at, and I think this is probably the most intriguing part of my entire experience in working with it, is what does it take to get a condo FHA approved? Do you see the bottom here? The little highlighted portion? Those in the lending world will know these terms very well. Mortgagee letters. So whenever HUD wants to speak to the public, they do it through a mortgagee letter, and they tell you this is the new guidance that we're going to have. So they put out a mortgagee letter in 2011-22, which were basically all the new condo guidelines. It's 90-something pages long. If you have absolutely nothing to do, please feel free to pick up a copy and read through it. This is probably the biggest deal that our task force discovered, is that we would go out and we would talk to volunteer board members of condominiums and say, you should really want to get your condo FHA approved, and say, great, where's the application? There is no application. It's 90-something pages. Try and convince those 5 volunteer board members to read through not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5 different mortgagee letters
to figure out how you get that condo FHA approved. That was the other thing we brought up with Secretary Carson. Can we have like some kind of easy process where you can go in and plug in the numbers and then they'll, basically an online application? And he thought that was a very intriguing idea, did not even realize how complicated the process was. So he told us that he was going to direct staff to go and look at this and see if we can simplify the process for even applying. The other thing that we did is kind of create an index, if you will, of the different qualifications and where you go and find those qualifications. So if you were to pull up the 90-something pages, you can see that the requirement for a minimum number of units that are 2 or more is in 2.1.1. The important part about this is through all of our research, we've discovered the 2 major hurdles that we had to getting a condo FHA approved are, anyone want to take a guess?
Reserves and
Got
insurance.
it. The reserves, right here in this section, 2.1.6. I know, I wish I had some cookies or something I would give you. So you have to have a 10% of your monthly budget going towards a reserve fund to pay for capital expenditures and deferred maintenance. However, the Florida legislature allows you to waive that reserve requirement by a simple majority vote at a duly held meeting annually. So many in South Florida choose, especially in a downturn of a market where they're just trying to survive, they chose to waive these reserves, which automatically disqualifies them from FHA, Fannie, and Freddie. It's an automatic disqualifier. That's why it's been so important for us to educate volunteer board members of condominiums that the budget reserves really do matter. The other thing that we came across in our task force is the insurance requirement. FHA did not allow for pooled insurance. Pooled insurance. Anyone want to give me a great example of a very popular pooled insurance program that we have in Florida? Citizens. Citizens is a Florida-owned, state legislature approved, Florida state-owned company that pulls all the policies from around the state together. Well, FHA didn't allow for that. And they're also the #1 carrier of condo buildings in the entire state of Florida. So until we got that addressed, we weren't going to be able to overcome the pooled insurance requirement and also the co-insurance. So in mortgagee letter, let's see which one. 2015-27. It was the end of the year of 2015. We were at our meetings at the National Association of Realtors. There were about 5,000 realtors in the room. And we had Ed Golding, the FHA commissioner, there speaking. And Megan Booth was sitting next to me 4 chairs down. And he made this big announcement in front of all the realtors, was that they now will accept co-insurance and pooled insurance programs, which was a huge victory for Florida. So I looked down at Meg and I said, "Did you know about this?" She said, "No." I said, "Did you know about the co-insurance issue?" She said, "The first time I ever heard about that was from your task force." So if you ever think that all this work that you do produces something big, we took it all the way to Washington, D.C., and within 6 months got that policy changed. That was some heroic efforts, and it was not me alone. And I'll show you the members at the end of this real quick. This is one other, well, actually I'll show you the members here. And if you're in the room, please stand up. Lisa and others. I want to thank you guys for the help that you did with the members. As I mentioned, this was not an effort of me alone. We had a lot of task force members, and almost all of those members came from this group, the NARREP. Lisa mentioned that at a meeting just like this, we had volunteers, we put a group together, we met almost monthly to come up with this stuff, and the co-insurance actually came from John with Bank of America. Where is he? Right, somewhere out here. Oh, there he is. He's actually in California now. But he's the one that came to our task force meeting and said, "You won't believe what happened to me this morning." Do you believe that they don't accept co-insurance clauses? And I have to tell you, pretty much everybody on the task force asked, "What's co-insurance?" So our very next meeting, we had somebody come out and educate us about what co-insurance was. So just to go back real quick and finish up with this slide. This is what we were looking at. Actually, I updated the chart from, this is the chart that we took when we met with Secretary Carson just about a month ago. This is how many condo buildings, according to DBPR, are in Broward County, Miami-Dade County, and you'll see just between our two counties, we have over 9,000 condo buildings. This is how many are FHA approved. 4 and 9, for a total of 13. Total number of units you'll see there, which we have over 500,000 units between those two. And then FHA approved, out of those 13, we get an inventory of almost 3,000, but how many of those are actually active in the MLS at 345 and below? Why is it 345 important?
335.
That's your maximum loan limit for FHA. There's one of those on there that has nothing in that building for less than $500,000. I don't care if you're approved, you're not helping. So out of that, we just took the ones that were 345 and we have 31, and I will tell you that number hits Secretary Carson more than anything else. How in the world can Miami-Dade County only have 31 units available in all of the county for our workforce to house them? How is that possible? And I said, it's your condo financing guidelines. And until you change them, it's not going to get better. So we have a commitment from Secretary Carson, and I've been in contact with the staff at least 3 times now to see if we could bring back spot loans, to see if we can make some adjustments to the condo regulations that we have. One of the suggestions that we had, instead of using the 10% reserve requirement, could you look at a 3-year budget history? You know, we have an example of condo in Hialeah where the president absconded with $80,000 in the reserve account. Those senior citizens on a fixed income will never have a reserve account again because they are victims. But they've done 3 special assessments and they just passed their 40-year recertification. It's a healthy condominium association. If you look at a 3-year budget history, work performed, you'll see that it's healthy and it shouldn't be just limited to the 10% reserve requirement. With that, I will turn it over and I want to thank you guys for your time. And we're very proud of you.